Welcome to the Victory Project podcast, undoing hopelessness with a godly purpose, love, and accountability. Since 2009, we've believed it's less about what we do and more about what we undo through education, entrepreneurship, and enlightenment. You're here because you believe a city on a hill cannot be hidden. Let's shine that light. Let's build victory together.
All right, welcome to the Victory Project podcast. My name is Monty Bush, founder and CEO of the Victory Project. We're excited to come back to the air today and share a really important, kind of heavy topic, but really want folks to learn from our young men, their experiences, and hopefully be encouragement and let folks know what's going on in the community, what a life is like as a teenager in 2025, which is so different than I experienced. So in the room with me today is Keyshawn Miller. He's our senior program director for the high school campus. How's it going, Keyshawn?
Good. Can't complain.
Can't complain. How's last week? I was in Montana last week, which I'd love to talk about.
Yeah. So we just threw this whole citywide party, because you were out of town.
What?
So yeah, the whole city came out. There were dance party, all that stuff.
Dang, I missed it. Were you guys part of that?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
I coordinated it.
You coordinated it.
I was the DJ.
You were the DJ, man. I missed out big time. I'm surprised that's not viral somewhere.
Yeah.
We banned all phones.
That's awesome. Next to Keyshawn is Yakir. Yakir is a member of our high school campus and one of our co-hosts. How you doing, Yakir?
Good. How about yourself?
Doing good. Glad to be here with you guys for sure. Glad to be back. How's school going? It's been a couple months now, right?
Closing in on the first quarter.
First quarter already. How's that looking?
I feel like I've done good.
Yeah. Good. What's your best class?
Physical science.
Okay. Physical science. Is that interesting to you career-wise?
Yeah.
Is it? Okay. Makes sense. You're passionate about it. Awesome. Well, thank you for being on the podcast. And we have next to him is Tim, one of our veteran podcasters and senior at our high school campus. Tim, how are you, sir?
Doing pretty good. How about you, Mr. Monty?
Doing great. You were just telling us you had parent-teachers conference at school today. That was pretty good.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Is your first quarter wrapping up soon?
I already did. Already in second.
Already in second quarter. So you only got just beginning of the second, just got a couple more left.
Yup.
Man, you going to do any interning this year?
Of course.
Yeah. Construction?
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Construction management? So what you're doing?
Yeah.
Doing that? Awesome. That's a big need, man, big time. I've talked to a lot of folks in that industry and they're looking for hard workers like you guys. So you'll be successful at it. So today's podcast, like I said, we're going to be going through what's a life like for a teenager in 2025. And, what we'll be talking about could be personal stuff. So feel free, guys, to, use other people as examples. You don't have to tell any personal stories, but people would love to hear your perspective and your experience. It could help a lot of people. And so I'll jump right in here with the question. I'll start with you, Tim. In Dayton, the school district, counselors report that the demand often outpaces the availability, especially for after school and evenings services. If you've ever tried to get help from a school counselor, what was that experience like?
For me, it was a good experience, but at the same time, I didn't really think that having a counselor would help, or as though I needed help. And because of that, I'm pretty sure it made the experience a lot more substantial than I would deem it to be.
Mm-hmm.
And the counselors that I had were very on board with what I was doing, very attentive, and they were good because they were really open to listening. And it was mostly focused on fixing my problems and listening to me at the same time.
So that's a good feedback. How about you, Yakir?
Basically what Tim said, it was nerve-wracking at first because I didn't think I could trust no one because the things that happened to me. But once I got used to going to see my counselor, it was just it was normal to me. I felt more comfortable. I felt like I was actually wanted there and all types of other stuff.
That's good. So it sounds like you guys had good experiences. Were the counselors available to you when you needed them, or did you have to wait a long time? What would you say, Yakir?
I used to just ask my teachers to either call them off their school phone or either text them, and then they used to just come get me, and we used to go to their office.
Okay. That's good. How about, was your counselor available pretty quickly?
Yeah, and I say that's also a reason why it was a very good experience because they're extremely accessible
Mm.
and they were present in the moment. You
Yeah.
know, they were able to help people that needed it,
Yeah.
the most, or, very, very much attentive to everyone.
Mm-hmm. Have you guys, from your experience as counselors, like with other people that maybe have gone to counselors, do they seem like they're pretty accessible or for other people as well? Have you heard anything where other people had to wait a long time or pretty accessible from your experience?
Just from my experience, it was pretty accessible,
That's
but
good.
I can imagine that some wouldn't have the exact same experience or an experience as quality as mine,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I can imagine it.
So with me, like when people ask to go to the counselor would either tell them, wait till I'm finished with this person, or they could squeeze them in right before they get that person because sometimes people just need something off their chest. So it's
Mm.
like a real quick snap in a hurry. But now that I'm in high school, I see that most students like they just want to go to the counselor just to get out of class. They
Mm.
don't even want to talk about like their personal life, their issues, or anything that they need to relieve off their head.
Yeah. Yeah, that would definitely fill up that time pretty quickly if that is the case where you had a flood of people just wanting to talk to the counselor or just kind of hang out. But that's a good news then that's not as maybe as big as a problem as being reported, or maybe just in certain schools that could be an issue. That's good feedback.
Then a little bit of a heavier topic. Every year, Dayton Police Department posts statistics on crime and specifically youth crime. And what really stood out to me is that in two of these statistics, there was an all-time record in youth. And one was youth committing aggravated assault, and then also youth being victims of violent crimes. Um, Based on what you guys see in your area, personal experience, friends, peers, what do you think is the main cause for this at a higher rate?
I think what causes it to be so high is like when you're going to school or like you're on social media causes like most of the drama because you find out that people are spreading rumors about you and then like you guys try to set up a time and a date to go fight.
Me, I probably have to say it's caring too much. It's definitely just caring too much about, you know, something that doesn't matter, the menial things. Even if you are blasted all over social media, it's more so just approaching everything with the calm attitude, not caring as much as the aggravator would want you to, if
Mhm.
that makes sense.
And then a lot of kids, like, it's just like what causes them to get like weapons and all that. It's just people just don't even care no more about how the outcome was. All they worry about is what's going to happen first. And then they don't care about if there's going to be a consequence or anything. They just care about showing off and acting tough.
Mhm.
Yeah, I will say love has gone colder. Love
Mhm.
for people around you has gone a lot colder. And because of that, you don't think about other people's well being. And that kind of tends to lead to you not valuing life the same way you would if there are people around you that loved you the entire time, that showed accountability. And even though you want to do something bad, they're there for you to stop you. So
And I also think a big factor is how like girls always try to get with one boy and then spread rumors to another and then get with another boy while you're still in a relationship.
Mm.
And
Yeah, that's good. I bet that is an
yeah,
aggravating circumstance. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, and maybe a scared teen is listening, or maybe a worried parent or somebody that interacts with youth. What would you say to those people to avoid this, to make better decisions, to not be a victim or make those bad decisions that can affect the rest of your life?
Just don't let people's opinions get the best of you.
and I probably have to say, but I probably have to start off by saying they're probably not going to tell you. We're more so closed off to our parents and people that could actually help rather than those that really can't do much but provide emotional support by hyping up our anger and
Mm.
just allowing anger to take control instead of being level-headed. And it's more so people with temperaments that wind up in such aggravating assault charges simply because it's it's more beneficial to try and find a way to be able to deal with it. It's hard to, like a lot of things are, but it's still possible. People aren't putting in the effort to do so. They just say it and then just walk off and just let it be rather than trying to deal with it up front and doing soul searching to stop themselves from doing so. So, I mean, that's just what I see.
Those are good feedback when you look at people that the school, say your peers look up to and that they admire and maybe the girls pursue. Are they the guys that generally have that tougher mindset? The guys that are willing to go get a gun quickly? Is that person looked up to in the school from peers, do you think? And then that's part of the reason why I want to be respected and liked, so I'm going to do that too. What part does that play in it, do you think?
It entirely depends on the environment.
Yeah.
If you're around a bunch of people that view that as reasonable, and it's more so what people feed you rather than you feeding them who you really are. It has a lot to do with like what your priorities are and what you actually should value. It's more so about idolicism than like actual putting in the work to make your life better.
Yeah, I also agree with Tim, but I'm gonna add one thing. But like when like say like a guy goes and gets a gun and all that, then everybody's eyes are on that guy with the gun. They're not on the guy who's scared for his life right there. All they're worried about is what that guy's gonna do with the gun.
Are they looked up to? Like, and maybe, fear is a type of respect. Is that, you see that when guys are more
Yeah, I see the fear that leads to respect because they're scared of them.
scared of them? Yeah, I could bet that's pretty common. My next question is more about like the things that happen when young people are exposed to lots of fear, lots of isolation, maybe the lack of love, like you mentioned, Tim. According to a nationwide survey, about 1 in 3 high school students reported persistent feeling of sadness and hopelessness in recent years. What role do you think social media has to play in that? And
It builds a sense of inadequacy. Like you see everyone else's lives and you just oppose it to your own and you feel like you don't have as much, even though you might have a lot more love in your life than you like, than you think, than more than you realize. And when you peep that, you normally tend to look less towards social media as what you want to be your reality instead of just living your actual life and going out and making advancements for yourself. So instead of choosing to live in a world that you can't live in, you should live in the world that you have now and make it better for yourself.
yeah, that's good. What do you think, Yakir?
Oh, I think like say you see kids with like better clothes than you, better shoes, better outfits, better everything than you. But the real question is, do they have the same love you have? And like, do they have the same life that you live? Are you them or are you yourself? Are they themselves or are they you?
When you think of social media and the impact it has, there's good and bad, clearly. But what if you're talking to a peer or talking to a parent, how would you recommend them limiting the negative effects of social media? What advice would you give them?
Honestly, I probably have to say teach your kids how to respond to it better rather than trying to take it away altogether. If you can't respond to something correct, you might as well just not be in the environment at all.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's best to learn how to deal with an environment that you shouldn't be in. So that way you can avoid it and understand like your life isn't that environment, but what you choose to make it. It's more so inward than outward.
Yeah, that makes sense. So if you're a parent and your child seems like they're always on their phone or always online, just not take it away completely. But how do you manage them, or what conversation would you have with them to start to help them understand what they're watching is not reality and there's a healthy way of processing what they're watching? Is there advice you would offer?
Showing them how the real world works. Instead of barking in order, you should lead, not just bark in order. You should be able to help them visualize what the real world is. People have a sense of an unrealistic reality that others don't have. And because of that issue, people are just walling themselves off And because of that, some people just don't understand a
Mm-hmm.
world without social media. And because of that, they can't really like formulate that in their head.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes people more so just not as reasonable
Mm-hmm.
to like what they have to deal with in daily life. It just completely turns them down to real life.
That's good advice. Yeah. What do you think, Yakir? What advice would you
So
give?
I think like when you give your kid more privacy, the more privacy they get, the more comfortable with the bad things they do. And you got to just make sure your kids are hanging around with the right group of kids. Talk with the parents of the other kids. Once you get to know the kids, just keep talking to the parents so you get to know the parents to make sure the kids are the right kids.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, one of one of the favorite. I think Tim was here last year when we did one of the favorite classes we did was on social media last year, and we always open up with the same thing to kind of embarrass you guys a little bit. Is I'd spend about 15, 20 minutes max looking up your guys' social media, and I'll screenshot it real quick. I'll blur out the faces and the names, but you know what it is, and it's always funny because you got like Tim dancing on the first slide. And this is 15 or 20 minutes. So you imagine what an employer that pays somebody to do a background check is going to find. And I'm just spending 10 minutes, 15 minutes finding some of the stuff is crazy. It's funny, but it's serious. What you post on the social media can be there forever.
For sure.
I remember we did that class. It was recent, and we had pulled up one current VP member, and then the rest were kind of turning into alumni. Well, one had a Bible verse under it, but then they were still showing gang signs and stuff.
Yeah.
2 lives. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's probably very common. We have the what we want people to see, and then like going back to who you really are. You maybe really feel like I'm following God. I want to do the right thing, but if feel more popular or feel more relevant, I got to post some crazy stuff on there because that's what everybody else is posting. As we talk about how to relate, because you mentioned, Tim, a few minutes ago that when people are trying to communicate with their children or somebody, a youth, most likely they're not going to open up to that person, especially a parent, because it's going to, they're just closed off. And I think every child's that way with their parents to a certain point. And when it especially comes to problems, when they're really dealing with something. And I'm going to ask you, Yakir, first, what do you think it would help make it easier for young people to share their personal problems with teachers, family, and peers? What would be an easier way that somebody could approach you about it or approach the problem about it that would allow you to feel more comfortable about sharing? What would be a couple pieces of advice?
If like you feel like the teacher's targeting you, or if other people are targeting you, you're not going to feel comfortable with them. So this is for the teachers and the staff and all the students.
I know you said don't target the child, but what other approach could they give to make it more comfortable for somebody to open up? Maybe not in a public setting, maybe in a personal setting.
So just like tell the student, have a conversation with the student, get to know the student more often, and then just share your life with the student so they get more and more comfortable with you. And then they might open up and tell you more about their personal life.
It may make you feel more comfortable in saying, okay, maybe they could understand, or maybe they have some advice for me. Is that correct?
Yeah. Or if like they're getting in trouble during class, just don't call them out mid class. Just like ask them to stay back after class, just around 2 to 3 minutes. Have a conversation with them and let them go about their day.
Tim, what advice? That's a good advice for teachers. Yakir, if from a parent's perspective, what approach would help them be more comfortable sharing something with their parent?
Well, first off, I like to say I have a bit of a counter argument to what Yakir said about not being, but not speaking out about, but not speaking out to the child and calling them out for what they do, because that's not how the world works. It builds a non-realistic ideal of how the world works. If you're doing something wrong, someone's gonna call you out for it, just flat out. It's best to be truthful and honest, be straight up, and be bold-faced. You can't beat around the bush. You can't be you can't be procrastinatory. You have to take initiative,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm not saying be cutthroat, but be understandable, be reasonable, but also always be able to have a line between, all right, I can be cool, but I should also be a teacher to you. I should also teach you what to teach you. Like, how the world was supposed to work. You know?
Yeah, because to your point, they have a classroom to control, and so you want to be direct about what your expectations are, be consistent, and follow up with that. Maybe to Yakir's point, a good follow up would be after class. Maybe have a more of a conversation about it, because that could be the best of both worlds. You guys are giving examples for. Would that be effective, you think?
Yeah, but
Mhm.
I still stand on the hill. You have to call people out sometimes.
Yeah.
You just have to
Yeah.
you just have to tell them what it is that they're doing wrong.
Yeah,
Mhm.
sometimes you do have to put people in check.
You just have to give them that sense of pressure
Mhm.
that like if they can't handle now, they can't handle anywhere else.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, that's a little over the top, just know your limits.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm taking notes, by the way, guys. So next class, be prepared.
So Tim, just to wrap up this section for the same question, you're trying to connect with your child. You're trying to get them open up, or at least feel comfortable enough to share when they're having struggles. What approach would you all suggest to a parent that would be a good first step to creating that dialogue?
Be understanding and reasonable. So if you are understanding, they're not going to talk to you.
Mhm.
If you're not reasonable, they won't they won't they won't value what you have to say if they don't find what you say reasonable at all. They're just gonna think you're crazy or something. And with that kind of builds distance and it
Yeah.
builds a bit of disdain for your parent. Cause then it just creates a little gap. Then the gap doesn't become a gap, it becomes a trench.
Mhm.
That trench becomes a cliff. That cliff becomes a canyon.
Yeah.
So
Builds that distance. And to kind of follow up on that, what role would you say modeling to your child? So, for example, if you're asking your child to do something, but you can't do that same thing you're asking them to do, how much of modeling goes to building that rapport?
honestly, I would have to just say, just be truthful with them. Tell them that what you struggle with them too. That and then us as teenagers, we misinterpret that as misplaced anger.
Mm.
Like you said, we feel as though your adults are just being hypocritical. They always think like, you can't tell me not to smoke when you smoke too. You
Mm.
can't tell me not to go over to this girl's house when you went over to a girl's house before when you were younger. I know you have. Like that's just how it is. And when you tell them the reasoning behind what you don't want them to do, and if you do it as as they're learning about the world, it becomes easier to deal with them. They're more malleable, and it's easier to just be able to keep them well rounded
Mm-hmm.
while keeping them themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because people don't like when you try to change them. It's more so if you're able to help them grow.
Yeah, that's good. So, Yakir, what do you think about modeling? You think that plays a role in building rapport with your child?
Yeah, because you're always gonna be the role model for your student, your
Mm.
kid, your child, anything. You're always gonna be the role model because you're the older one.
Mm.
Like I'm a role model for my little brother. He looks up to me. He does the exact same things I did, and I'm mistaken for. He does them now, and I regret everything I have done. He does everything. He's addicted to the game. It's bad.
Is he better than you?
No,
I'll
you
ask
can
him.
never let little bro beat you. Never.
I'll ask him.
What I love about what Tim said,
Right.
though, is even as a parent makes a mistake, or if a kid knows that the parent did the same thing when they were younger, giving them the reason why they don't want to do the same things they did, because this is what happened to me when I was doing the things you were doing, giving them some context and reason behind it. That's good. Both of you guys.
So you guys call me Unc and apparently great grandpa.
Whoa.
So what struggles do you guys struggle with today that you guys think when we were your age we do not struggle with?
Anyways, I have to say the lack of just reasonality. Why would you pull up to a school, an elementary school, to fight someone? Why would you do a drive-by shooting all because someone says something to you? Why would you attack someone that realistically doesn't really affect your life in any way, all because of one thing that they did? I don't think it's self-control. It's more so being able to look inside yourself and be like, I'm a person that should be doing this, but I don't. So because of that, I should be working on myself to do better, just like
Mm.
everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
You should realize that you're a human, so as everyone else. Therefore, you can't really formulate an opinion that you're better than someone and you have the right to do something that you shouldn't.
But you, Yakir, what do you guys struggle with in today with culture, social media, internet, all that things that me and Monty may not have?
We struggle with posting about people in bad ways, also sharing more rumors, spreading more rumors, and you just gossiping for no reason, also causing fights like Tim said. I think we struggle with the lack of resiliency.
Yeah, I think when I think back, my biggest fear was, getting into a fight and losing, but it was a fist fight. It wasn't, and that usually was squashed after that. You would become friends. Now that seems to not even be the case. People skip over a fist fight and go right to, firearms. That's definitely something we didn't struggle with.
Yeah, and it happening so often, it kind of takes the emotion out of it. Every time you turn on the news, it's another person's life where we're desensitized to violence and young people being victimized.
This is a question for you and Mr. Bush. What do you think, as you grown-ups, struggle with? What do you guys think you struggle with the most?
Struggle with the most today, or when I was
All
your
time.
age?
At our age.
Man, you got 3 hours? Oh man, what do I struggle with the most? I think probably the most would be to not allow the traumas of my parents to get passed down to me today. So make the same mistakes they did. They weren't perfect, just like I'm not perfect. But the last thing I would want to do is make the same exact mistakes that they made and pass that down to possibly you guys or eventually a future family.
What I struggle with at your guys' age was something that Tim said, is caring too much about what other people think about me. I was really wanted to be liked, wanted to be accepted, instead of trying to, I didn't have that self-confidence to say, oh, this is who I am. This is who God made me. If I was with a certain group, I'd try to be like that group. And then I would go to a different group and be like that group. I really wasn't true to myself. But at the time, it seemed very, very important, because you want to feel like you belong, like you're part of something, part of a group, and accepted. So, and I think as adults struggle with that today. I mean, as you get older, you want to feel that sense of belonging and community. And I think that's the difference of when you have Christ in your life. That's what you're really trying to mimic and have a relationship with Him. And it doesn't really matter what the world says anymore. You're just trying to build that relationship with God and model what He has for us. My identity is in God and Christ, and not worrying about the world. Like, you shouldn't care so much about what people think. Is that satisfactory?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome, guys. We're gonna wrap up like we usually do, with just kind of sharing maybe one of the most important things you thought you'd want to pass on to the listener. It could be in any of the things we talked about or something we didn't talk about. And I'll start with you, Tim. What would be the one thing you'd want listeners to remember?
You can't perpetually expect the world to always just be meant for you, right? You can't just go along with the crowd. Sometimes you have to push against the grain in order to do what you need to do. And sometimes you have to do that in order to be an individual.
That's good. How about you, Yakir? What would you want to
I
share?
have two. Just don't let nobody's opinion affect the way you act or you treat others. And also know your limits. Like, know your limits when you're trying to do something that you think is going to make the whole class laugh. And just don't bully another student just to make one student feel down and one student feel good. Don't do it, because it's not worth the trouble that you're going to get into afterwards. You're not thinking about the repercussions that you're going to face after that incident.
That's great, man. Great advice. You guys shared some really important things here today, and I hope folks got some encouragement from it. I'm glad you guys are here to model the right way to live life, because you guys are choosing a hard path, but it's a very rewarding path. So thank you for your input, Tim. We appreciate you. Yeah, Yakir. Appreciate it, sir.
We appreciate all of you guys.
Yeah, man. Thanks, Keyshawn, for helping us set this up, man. It was good Q&A.
Thank you.
All right. For the listeners, you can follow us on YouTube, Apple, and all the regular podcast platforms. And until next time, God bless.
Thanks for listening to the Victory Project podcast. If you believe in changing lives through faith, discipline, and opportunity, then you're in the right place. Keep showing up. Keep being the light. Until next time, remember, Victory isn't just a destination, it's a way of life. Learn more at victoryproject.org.